Okay, so I guess we can start. And actually, for everyone, so I'm talking with people also in the hall. Sorry for that, because like we are heard everywhere. So that's why for those who is not with us now, please join us, and you can do it wherever you want. We have a 30-minute talk with BAAM Artists, who I will present now. Yeah, please join. Please join. Yeah, we are waiting for you. Yeah, artists are waiting for you too. Yeah, and yeah, it will be a 30-minute talk, and also you would have a chance to ask your questions. And actually, based on our conversation 2 days ago, artists are waiting for your questions also. So yeah, please feel free. Okay, so let's start. My name is Dasha, and I will be moderating this session. I have a background in museum marketing mostly, in fine art museum marketing mostly, but also I work with fine art galleries and fine art fairs and some projects with contemporary art, and I do it mostly now, and have been doing it for the last year. So it's very interesting for me to go deeper in the contemporary art and to talk more about contemporary artists, and I'm very pleased to talk with you today, and thank you for agreeing to do it. So here are Amber Cannings. Amber is a Welsh artist currently based in Berlin. She graduated with a first-class degree in fine art at Loughborough University, where she also completed a year of study at the University of Zaragoza in Spain. Florence Obrecht, a French artist living in Berlin since 2009, graduated from the Fine Arts School of Paris in 2001 and has scholarships to study in Berlin, New York, and Sofia. At this moment, she has a solo show in Cannings. Yeah. And Jana, a German Thai painter based in Berlin. She grew up in the south of Germany, and I also know that she has a solo show in Spain now.
Spain, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So welcome all, and yeah, let's just clap a little bit to support. Okay, so the first question from my side. Not talking about BAAM at all now, not talking about this one, but talking more about you. What are you currently working on now? So is there any art piece in your studio or at home or maybe in your bag now that you're working on now? Can you please share?
So I'm currently working on a project called Alone Together, and I've always kind of worked with this kind of theme. So the idea is like creating a space where like you can be participating like in society, but also just do your own thing. So for example, like walking down the street, like you're surrounded by lots of people, but you can just see into windows of different people's lives. So at the moment I'm working with photographic references, but also doing some on plein air, but it's very cold outside. So yeah, sometimes photo references and sometimes on plein air. So I've just completed a piece in Simon-Dach-Straße. I find the street so inspiring because there's always so much life going on there. So I just went to the cinema and sat outside the cinema, got a beer, and just asked, can I paint here? And I went like 3 times, and then I could capture like the whole atmosphere of the street. And then I'm also working on a few bits at home that, yeah, again, talk about this alone together, like analyzing the human condition. We're together in society, but also alone at the same time. Yeah.
Love that. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So as you told before, I have a big show at this moment in Cannes, and I had also a solo show in Paris just the same month. So I'm happy now to work on collaborations. Like I'm working also with my husband. We work together. Like sometimes we make these 4 hands works, and we just finished yesterday a duo, like a diptych paintings, where we are both dressed up, and we show this series of paintings in Art Antwerp. Yeah, and I'm also working on the solo on also duo show in Berlin in January. So I'm working with Mirja Gastaldi with also Berlin-based artists. And we are working about, it's about mixing painting and textile. So the show will be called Leben und Weben. And this is the title of a documentary about women working in textile fabric, so in a DDR site, so in the time of DDR. And it's really great because we are making also works on paper together. Like I'm starting something, she takes it, and then she's starting something different, and I'm continuing. So yeah, so it's very, very interesting. And it's also good to be out of my ego trip because I had to, like a lot about myself last month. Yeah.
I'm working on a new series called Frau mit Stuhl, Woman with a Chair. And the first painting of the series is in the second room. It's an awkward situation. It's like a chair on the floor and a woman leaning above the chair and looking directly in the spectator's eyes. And the woman is looks like me because I'm painting myself a lot. And the inspiration for this also came through the artist Erwin Wurm. He does a lot of these 1-minute sculptures in his shows where he offers a daily object, for example, like a fridge, and then he gives an instruction for the spectator or for the visitor how to interact with this daily life object. For example, you have to put your hand into the fridge. And I really like this absurdity which comes along when you interact with a thing in a different way. So I try to take this weird interplay between the two objects on my paintings. And what is different in this new series is that I'm looking directly into the spectator's eyes. So it's maybe it emphasizes the weird situation.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think it's a little bit maybe also personal to share what you're working currently on because it's in the progress, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. And so this is the idea of the talk, that not maybe everybody knows you and knows your work, but they would know you now and would look for your works. Can you tell maybe about 1 or 2 pieces that you brought here which you love maybe and which is not yet sold, which is also hard to find because it's everything is being sold through these days. So what's the story behind them? You can describe them and then the person who will look for it, they will know the story, but maybe something, yeah, something that you like to do, like to tell also.
Yeah, so I'll start off with one that, yeah, I've been working on for a while. So when I first moved to Berlin 2.5 years ago, and when I first moved here, I saw this really peculiar advertisement, and it's a sign for, it's called Dildo King. It's a sign for a very, I was like, what, this isn't real, like, what, they advertise this in the street, and I was just walking in Warschauer Straße, and they had this sign, and the sign rotates, and on the other side it says LSD kaufen. And then I was like, what? So it's true, there's also a LSD shop in Berlin. I never went there, it's not my interest, but yeah, so I had to just make a painting of this unusual sign just to kind of capture, like, I'm really interested in space and place, and yeah, for me, this kind of was like a portrait of Berlin in some ways. So from then on, that was the first piece I did, and yeah, 2.5 years later, I've made 6 of these Dildo King pieces. Yeah, so the painting is in the far back at the left. This particular one's called Dildo King Massive, because it's the biggest one I've made. And then on the other side of this advertisement, it says, do your boobs a favor, which is another shop, and I was just baffled by like whoever thought to do this, and I always look out for them. And working more on this series, I realized it's also interesting because at the top of the sign there's a clock, so each of the paintings has a different time, and I think this also adds to the story of it. So like, I think this one here is in the afternoon, so it's like just strolling around Alexanderplatz. Okay, there's one, And I've got another one, I used a photo a friend gave to me, and it's at 1:30 in the morning, and it's dark and raining, and yeah, I think this tells another story. I'm like, what? Ooh, why was she out at 1:30 and taking this weird picture, you know? So each of them says a different story, but yeah. And then I have one more piece to talk about, or should I?
You can please talk if you want. Yeah.
Okay. So then the other piece, so the other kind of series, this Alone Together and like Simon Dachstrasse and like going out in the world and like just, I don't know, looking at what people are doing. So this other piece I have is of 2 people. I think they're on a date. I've decided they're on a date, and they're having a conversation in a bar, and I've decided it's like a first date, and like, I don't know if everyone knows, but it's kind of atrocious to date in Berlin. It can be quite tricky. So yeah, so I've decided like these 2 people on a date, it's their first date, and they're talking like, oh, what's the meaning of life, you know, what's your passion, what's your star sign, like, what are your childhood traumas, and then the next day, they're never going to see each other again, which happens a lot. So yeah, so this painting's in the portrait section, and yeah, it's kind of like got all these warm colours, so it's like cozy and warm, and I mean, there's nothing wrong in going on an intense first date and never seeing each other again. But yeah, this is kind of the vibe I was trying to give with this painting. There's also a giant question mark painted within, just to add to it somehow. But yeah. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I could speak about the painting that I'm showing on this big wall with a lot of portraits. So this is the portrait of Denise, and so I met this girl in Montpellier. I was invited, so it was last year, 2023, to make some murals in a show about contemporary French painting, so in Moko Museum. And they asked me to make some murals, like I had to paint angels on the wall. I had 5 days to make 5 big portraits. It was kind of crazy, like drinking coffee the whole day just to be able to work enough. And the assistant in the museum inspired me a lot. Her name is Denise. She's Turkish. She's from Turkey, and she was working with she was the connection between the museum and artists. So always very nice, sending nice message and everything. And I saw her with some 80s glasses and very funny sweatshirt, looking like Picasso modern, but not really. And I asked her if I could make some photos. And when I came back for the opening of the show, I made good photos of her, and then I made 2 paintings. This is one of the paintings, and so this is the inspiration of the painting. I can talk about the second one maybe, if I have time.
If you wish.
Yeah. I have a self-portrait, which is maybe hard to find because I don't know now where it is, but it was a bit high on the right, I think. And this is a self-portrait as a Pierrot. And so I'm wearing a 80 clown overall. You saw it? Yeah, and I have a phone in my hands, which is the phone of my childhood. I had the intuition to make a portrait with a phone like this, and I had to find the phone of my childhood in France, in Berlin, and I just looked at eBay Kleinanzeigen and just found exactly the same, with the same color, so it was kind of crazy for me. And I made the photo with the phone, so it's a kind of sad painting, very melancholic, that's why the title is Melancholia. And it was in a moment I was not so self-confident about my work, and you can see that I'm wearing 2 different shoes, like I cannot really choose my shoes, something like this. But I really love this painting, which is very fine. You have to see from really very close. Yeah, it's one of my favorite paintings of last year, I think, or maybe this year. I don't remember when I made it. Yeah, so that's it.
I want to talk about a piece, which hangs in the entrance. When you come in, you see it on the right-hand side. It's a big painting, and you see a woman in a squat having a pee, and it's from my last series, which I did where I combined oil painting and Thai fabric to kind of interweave my two cultures, because my mother's German and my father's Thai. And what I found interesting about this situation is, first, I'm really interested in private situations, in these little moments, and also because from my childhood memories, when I was in Thailand with my dad, there were no normal toilets. There were only these holes in the ground. I think you call them French toilets in Germany. So this was a normal way to pee, and also I find it interesting, or not interesting, but it's an issue for women to pee in public. So men can just find a corner and then have a pee, but women always have to hide behind a bush or between cars or whatever. It's always a hustle to pee if there's not a toilet around. So as a subject, I find it interesting, and also many people who saw the painting thought that it's a child peeing, because usually you rather think of a child or a girl peeing like this, not a woman. So, and the specialty is that I painted the woman, which is also me, with oil, and the pee is made of Thai fabric, which I stitched by hand on the canvas. And the title of the painting is Got Phi, which is the Thai name for the famous touristic island in Thailand, Phi Island. So it's also a common joke in Thailand, if you make a tourist thing, then the tourist guide would say, if you want to go to Phi Island, if you want to have a pee. So it's also kind of a joke. So I like this many layers of, the situation of a pee. Yeah.
Thank you. Amber, so your works often captures the essence of specific places. Can you please describe how you choose them? You shared a little bit, like that's the essence also of time for you. Like, you just do need to feel the vibe. But maybe what you want the viewers to see in that and to feel, what you want to share with these like artworks.
So how I choose like the specific places, for me, like I love traveling, and I always have loved traveling and like also spending a long period of time in a place. So for example, like last year I worked a lot in Kopassator, because I was working in this area. So I felt very inspired by Kopassator and all the strange characters there. And I even did some on plein air in, I can't remember the name of the building, but this very famous, iconic yellow and white old building in Kopassator. So it was quite fun to choose that position on plein air. Like there was all dirt in the street, and like loads of people came up to me and like asked, like one guy came up to me, he was brushing his teeth, and he just stopped me painting, and he was like, I used to live in that building. I was like, okay, nice. And then he walked away, and I named the painting Man Brushing His Teeth Used to Live Here. So that was pretty fun. Or I'm from Wales, so like when I spend time in Wales again, like I go cold water swimming with a group of old ladies, and we're called the Blue Tit Nutters. So at Christmas time I went back and I felt inspired by this particular beach that we swim at. So I did some paintings of like I'd go to the beach, swim in the 7-degree water, the old ladies, and then came back home and did the paintings. So yeah, and then like I said earlier, at the moment I'm working a lot in Friedrichshain area, so that's how I choose. Mainly connection with the place, and I want to like embody the whole space. What I want the viewer to feel. So like from a young age, I've always made like part of like my motive to make art is the fear of forgetfulness. and like kind of this worry that like tiny little moments pass, and like maybe you had like a really funny moment and you just forget it forever and it's just lost in time. So I've always made paintings that I want to capture, like, you know, try and grasp onto the memory of like the emotions that you feel there and how the scene is looking and who you meet, or, you know, all of this stuff. So what I want the viewer to feel is kind of a nostalgia for like something that's unfamiliar but familiar at the same time, and I want the viewer to feel a nostalgia for something that they weren't a part of but they kind of are a part of. So like the Berlin series, for example, like with the Dildo King, people feel like nostalgic for this sign. So yeah, it's mainly nostalgia and like an understanding of the space, even if they weren't there in that moment. So yeah, that's basically it.
Love that, thank you. Yeah, Florence, so your portraits blend classical painting techniques, and when we talked with you like a couple of days ago, you said that you actually are very inspired of classical paintings and of impressionists, yeah, if I remember that correctly, mostly.
Edouard Manet.
Yeah, and so you blend these with personal touches from your life, and so how do you actually decide to combine that? How you combine that, and what you want viewers to feel with these paintings, with your paintings?
Yeah, maybe I think it's more complicated than that, but there is this passion for classical painting, and also, yeah, you say impressionism, or like also 20th century painting, mixed with this intimacy, we can say, like the people I meet inspire me. And but there is also an influence of popular art. So I think it's a big mix with all those things. Like I also love the paintings which are not supposed to be art with a big R, like paintings that you see like, I don't know, could be in India, you see a painting in the street for a shop, something like this. Like ex voto, like in a church, you see an ex voto, which is not supposed to be painted by great painters, but which could be really strong. And so I'm very inspired by the classical painting and also this art, and also all the folk art. So all the patterns painting, like patterns of East of Europe and all those things. And this is also, very important that I'm inspired by people that I meet. So it could be people of my family, friends, people that I meet in I And when I start a project, it is very important for me that so I have an idea, I project something on someone, and when the person is interested to make photo shooting for a project, then the person comes with his own world. It means like clothes, like the person could be dressed up or not, or with makeup or not, and this is the meeting between what I imagined before and just the person coming as she's coming or he is coming, which makes the project. And it's also very important that at least the people that I photograph agree. Like I show the photos and they say, yes, I agree with this photo for a project. And so the process is also very important. And what I hope is that there is a transmission between the inspiration I had, the emotion I felt, and what the person is going to feel instead of my painting, in front of my painting. So something like this. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Jana, and you work deeply, and your work mostly explores themes of intimacy, femininity, human condition. How is it reflected in your artworks? Maybe also, which is there, you've shared already the one that's one of them. Maybe you can talk about others if they're still available, or maybe something that was sold. Yes. How is it reflected?
I'm really interested in this theme of privacy, and I'm always, the last series I did for a while was called Leave the Door Open, and this represents a bit the idea, or what interests me is that moment, for example, if you're like visiting someone and there's a door open and then you go inside and then you interrupt someone, maybe he's changing clothes or having a pee. And I really find this moment super interesting for both sides of the door. The one who's being interrupted and maybe seen by someone in a private moment, and also the one who's interrupting and is maybe also feel embarrassed. And I try to recreate this kind of special situation by my paintings. So I'm always showing a private moment, and I put the spectator into this position that he sees something that he maybe shouldn't see, or that he feels awkward to see. And what I hope that the people are touched in a way, in a weird way, or somehow. I think that's the magic that can happen through art and the people who see it.
So you want to have this, that's also my question, so what you want to make viewers and buyers feel when they see your artwork. So it's, can you please again like highlight that? So it's like this moment of like capturing, to remember the moment when it was happening with them, or more like immersing this scene?
Yeah, it's both. It's like a voyeuristic thing also, that the spectator becomes a voyeur, but also that he sees a private scene and he feels, because there's some innocence and magic if you see someone who's completely doing his thing and is not aware that someone is watching him or her. And I really like these moments also in the daily life that I find special.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Maybe from your, this is the last question from my side. Also, please feel free to ask your questions. We will be happy as we're wrapping up. So I ask on all the talks, I ask all participants to share a piece of advice on how to choose an artwork here, actually. And we talked with the curator, the collector, the decorator, with the founders of BAAM, but now it's your turn. So it's actually very interesting to hear what you as artists would recommend, and what would you recommend to how to choose the artwork and what actually to buy from your perspective. We're not talking only about your artworks, like overall.
So for me, like, this is the 6th BAAM that I've participated in, and it's always amazing. I love coming in and seeing the show and being a part of it. But for me, like, my main motive, which artworks that I connect with, that I find interesting, is just in general just works that have soul. Just have soul. I'm not quite sure how I can make this tangible, because that's part of the reason of art, is to explain things without words. But generally, yeah, just feel that connection, human connection. It doesn't have to be that it's made by a painting. There's just even a digital piece can have soul. So it's this kind of thing. And also I make sure you have enough time to spend at BAAM, because there's so many pieces, amazing pieces to see. And I try and come 3 times and just come to the opening, and then also come again by yourself, and just make sure you have enough time to look at all of the pieces. And also try and look at the piece from different angles. If it's a painting, look at the side of the canvas, or I don't know, just really be inquisitive. And if you really connect to a piece as well, just do some research, follow them on Instagram, and check to see if they're about the market as well, and then you can interact directly with them, which is amazing. That's one of the amazing things about this whole market. It's how interactive the artists are with the whole show, and
Yes, so I love this BAAM too, the mixity, the fact that you can have artwork from students or from artists working with galleries. And I also like that you don't see the biography with the person, you look at the painting and it could be love at the first sight. And even if it's someone starting in art, like 25 years student, could be a great artwork. And I also think at least that it's always better to buy art than a smartphone or a TV screen, which will lose the value directly after going out of the shop. And this is always better to buy art, I think, for the people who can, of course, but in BAAM you can really find cheap artwork. And I regret not to have bought something last year. They were great work from a Polish artist, and it was very cheap, and I still regret. I just should buy it. And it was gone, of course, at least. And as advice, I would say it's maybe better to buy originals as print. When I say print, like painted paintings which are print, for me it's less interesting as original. Like engraving is also like original. When you print engraving, it is like with numbers. I mean, a print of a painting is also with a number, like written, and you know they made only 20, for example. But myself, I really prefer original works. Yeah, so that's what I would say.
What I really love about BAAM is that it's so easy accessible for everyone, that you can really just, if you love something and you're being touched by a piece of art, that you can just take it from the wall and go to the checkout. Because in a normal gallery, you are always, most of the time, you're alone in the gallery, only with the person behind the desk, and you feel super weird because the person is looking at you like suspiciously. And here it's the vibe, the whole BAAM vibe is super family and friends and interaction, and most of the time a lot of artists are here, so if you're interested in a piece of art, then you can always try to talk to the artist himself, herself, and ask for the story behind the artwork, or ask about the life or the personality. And yeah, I think that makes it super easy to buy art. It's not such a high level snobbish thing, but it's for everyone.
Thank you for sharing. And it's actually interesting for those who haven't been here as me from the very beginning to all the talks. So actually everybody is sharing almost the same advice, to feel the artwork, to feel something that when you see, and it's something that chooses you, and then you buy it. And it's actually very interesting to hear also from you that you give the same piece of advice, just to find something that you like and take it. Thank you a lot for your time, and thank you for agreeing to participate in this discussion. This is very interesting for me, and maybe if you have any questions, we are happy to ask them. Otherwise, yeah.
So I have a question. How do you deal with giving your art away? I understand it's your job and that's how you earn money, but do you sometimes are afraid that maybe the person who buys it doesn't feel what you wanted to capture in your art?
So did you hear? Yeah. So the question is, how do you just? I will repeat for everybody. Please correct me if I didn't hear everything. So, how did the artist give away the artwork, and what if the person doesn't perceive it the way that the artist wants? Right? Yeah, that's a nice question. Thank you.
Okay, I understand. I can. Yeah. I understand the question, and but as I'm living from my painting, this is the question that I really don't want to think about too much. I mean, but I had the chance also that all the people who bought my paintings are very great people. And when you know the people and you are so happy that they are in good home, you know. Maybe if I sell the portrait of my daughter, for example, I could be sometimes like, oh, who is going to have the paintings or something like this. But I was very lucky from the beginning, and the people who fell in love with the painting are, I think, very often very good people. And yeah, so I never had this problem directly. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I try not to get too precious about them. I used to be more precious, but now, to be honest, when I finish a painting, I'm just kind of like, get it out of the house. And then I have some more space to work on some more. But I have one painting of me and my sister in a street in Spain that I used to live on, and no one is allowed to buy that. I'm keeping that one. But other than that, I think most, yeah, to reiterate what you said, most people, like, you get that they seem to understand the painting. And if not, at least you've made some money. So, yeah.
I was also really lucky. I think all the people who bought my paintings were really nice person. And also what I really love is to see afterwards where my painting is hanging, or living. But like to see the new home of the painting is really, sometimes I saw it in real life and sometimes people sent me pictures. So this is really nice to see. So there's a small part of me like somewhere else, maybe.
Actually, I've never thought that it's important for an artist to see how the artwork lives. Yeah, I guess I sent the picture only once, and she was very happy with it, but I would do it more often, I guess, to show that it's in a good hand. Yeah, everything is fine. Okay. Any more questions? No. Okay. Thank you all, and thank you for this conversation. Thank you. Maybe the last thing, so will you be for some time in BAAM? Yeah, so you can find ladies there somewhere in BAAM and ask them questions personally. Thank you, bye-bye.